People will eventually die. This is the common destiny of humanity, and no one can escape from its death. The universe's ultimate contract. At the first light of dawn, people begin their long race against death. This track has no starting point nor finish line, only countless lives striving forward upon it. In the delivery rooms of hospitals, an infant's cry marks the beginning of the race. In the quiet wards, an elder layperson's final breath signals the end of their steps. From emperors and generals to street vendors and common laborers, from sprawling metropolises to remote villages, no one escapes the call of that finish line. Death, this cold and absolute law, like the sword of Damocles, hanging over all living beings, is the irrevocable, ultimate contract signed between the universe and humankind. The pharaohs of ancient Egypt exhausted their nation's resources to build pyramids, attempting to counter the erosion of time with the eternity of stone. Qin Shi Huang dispatched armies in search of mythical islands, hoping his imperial power could pry open the gates to immortality. These grand endeavors ultimately dissolved like castles in the sand, smoothed away by the tides of history. Within the shadows of the pyramids, the mummy's burial wrappings have long since decayed. The legends of Penglai, the island of immortals, remain but elusive mirages upon the sea. Humanity, yearning for eternal life, resembles Sisyphus pushing his boulder, an eternal, futile struggle up a slope of despair. Yet within this futility lies a peculiar dignity. It is the inevitability of death that bestows upon life its precious weight and irreplaceable texture. During my years working in hospice care, I witnessed to many final burnings of life. A poet, in the late stages of bone cancer, between doses of painkillers, tapped at a keyboard with skeletal fingers, recording every tremor of his soul within the abyss of agony. His verses streak through the ward, stifling air like meteors. Pain is the language of bones, death the final rhyme. When his heartbeat finally flatlined, that unfinished collection of poems became a spark, igniting a flame of poetic creation in the heart of a young nurse. Though one life had extinguished, the sparks of his soul leapt forth, lighting another lamp. Death acts as the universe's greatest editor. It ruthlessly truncates the length of individual lives, yet in doing so, forces us to condense the density of our existence, distilling infinite possibility from the finite. Declared brain dead after a fall, blind for years, continuing to flow, breathe, and see within 5 distinct bodies. Here, death was no longer mere deprivation. We are forced to ask, what is truly worth burning for? A wealthy businessman, diagnosed with terminal cancer, he whispered to his son, "I won the whole world. This sunset glow is the true gold," revealing the core skeleton of life. It is loving and being loved. It is connection and creation. Death, this ultimate arbiter. Populations endlessly swelling. Resources infinitely exploited. Ossified, suffocating mire. The generational Rene wall brought by death is the inexhaustible engine powering the continuation and Rene wall of civilization. It compels the accumulated knowledge, wealth, and power of one generation to flow onward, making space for newcomers, allowing new ideas and fresh vitality to break through the soil like a forest fire, seemingly all destroying. It burns away dead wood and debris, clearing fertile ground for new life to sprout, keeping the entire ecosystem vibrant through cycles. Death is the cruel yet necessary price the universe pays for perpetual regeneration. When the shadow of death truly descends, it brings not only fear and nihilism deep within the souls that confront the end, astonishing forces of awakening and transcendence often erupt. A professor, cautious and reserved his entire life, stunned everyone who knew him after learning his time was short. He canceled his return flight and stayed alone at an Antarctic research station at the world's end, surrounded by eternal ice and shimmering auroras. This man, who had studied glacial dynamics for decades yet never truly felt the glaciers, bundled himself in thick expedition gear each day. He sat for hours at the edge of the ice sheet, the bitter wind cut like knife. Yet he seemed oblivious. In his notebook, he wrote, "Facing these glaciers, silent for hundreds of millions of years, my petty fears and regrets feel insignificant as a speck of ice. I finally understand. Eternity is not the length of time, but the depth of this present moment." Death pressed close, yet unexpectedly pried open the door to his perception of existence, allowing him to live so completely in the now for the first time, merging with the universe's grandeur and mystery. Recognizing the inevitability of death is not an invitation to passive lie, await the end. On the contrary, it grants us a sober courage and urgent passion. As Heidegger stated, humans are beings toward death. Sein zum Tod. The understanding of death is life's most profound alarm clock. When the cold proposition that man is mortal becomes the persistent background hum deep within our consciousness, it paradoxically triggers a strange sense of liberation. The world lie, judgments that once made us timid, the constraints that once bound our souls, they lose their weight before death. The ultimate judge, we are granted a desperate courage, since we must ultimately return this body. Why not live fully, fearlessly, authentically in the limited time and space, as our soul truly yearns to be? When we finally sign this cosmic contract named death with acceptance, the place where the ink dries is not the starting point of nothingness. It is precisely the indelible stroke of ink paid for with our entire life that we contribute to the universe's eternal canvas.